give the floor to Vice President Spalding, since I can't be there to see everybody.
Okay.
Report, Matt.
So this is the Manitowoc Public School District Special Board Meeting, June 27th, 2023. And we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you want to cite us in the report?
Christopher Abel,
Here.
Biff Hansen,
Here.
Matthew Phipps,
Here.
Stacy Seldner,
Stacy,
Here.
that's
Matthew Spalding,
here.
Carrie Trask,
Here.
Tony Gostelica,
Tony?
Tony doesn't have the volume on. Something.
He's there.
He's here,
He is here, yeah.
thank you.
at least in body.
Yeah. So. Okay. All right, and then we'll move right on to the consent agenda. And does anybody have anything that they would like to take out of the consent agenda? Sorry, we're getting some feedback on the monitors.
Joining a call with more than 4 people. Please mute your phone. The call is being recorded.
Tony, can you mute your? Okay, he did.
Okay. Apologize for that. Does anybody want to take anything out of the consent agenda? It looks like there's only the board meeting minutes. Any issues with that? We'll go ahead and ready to approve that.
I'll move. I'll move to approve
All right,
the minutes.
we have a motion by Carrie.
Second.
The second by Matthew Fitz. All those in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
Matthew, just to clarify that those are only the regular Board of Education, the closed session meetings. Those
correct.
are not attached. Okay, thank you.
Correct. And then right on to the report of the superintendent. It looks like we're starting off with the personnel report. Mike, do you want to speak to anything about where we're at with the vacancies or anything on the personnel report?
Sure. First of all, with resignations, you'll see Susan, I think it's pronounced Lou on there. Susan is in America on a work permit, special education teacher at Jackson. It's very sad and unfortunate. She applied for an H-1B visa. We did it together. We were very hopeful that she was going to be one of the 60-some thousand accepted. She was not, and as a result, she's going to be going back to I think it's China, and that's why she had to resign. Really kind of a sad situation. Then, as you can see, we made some progress again. But let's look down here. Current vacancies. We have an associate principal at Lincoln. We're looking to set up 6 interviews for a week from Thursday. So we're moving on that. It's really nice that we had a fairly decent candidate pool, which is very fortunate. The principal at Madison, we have an interview set up for tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Jamie and I are going to be conducting that interview. We're looking forward to meeting that person tomorrow and learning more. Regarding teachers, the speech language pathologist and the school psychologist, we're going to be very fortunate if we land anybody for those positions. Relative to the arts, we have an elementary and a middle school, and we have a couple of good candidates, and we're very hopeful that we're going to be able to land both of those people. And if so, we'll have those seats covered. Our special education remains to continue to be a challenge with 5 vacancies. And then the English language arts, we are really down to, I think, possibly 1 vacancy there. We're hopefully going to make an offer tomorrow. and we just made a recent offer. The technology education situation is at a middle school, and if indeed we're looking at a student teacher, maybe second semester, we're looking at maybe a retiree. But if indeed we can make that come to fruition, we'll get a good place for next year with that. Otherwise, tech ed is very difficult to find. Spanish, we have a candidate that I'm trying to connect with. Currently working down in Mexico, I believe, according to the application. So we'll see where that shakes out. Science, Lincoln has advanced somebody, so I think we're down to 2 there. In social studies, we hired somebody today, so we're down to 1 there. So we're making progress.
Good.
And I feel very fortunate with the quality of people we're bringing into the district. So far, so good.
Good. I'd like to even make a special welcome back to Aaron Stakovec, our special education teacher coming back to Lincoln, who had left last year and has come back. So that's really good to see that we're changing it and making it a destination district. So that's good. And then that's it.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do we have any, did you find any data since our last meeting? I was just looking at some stats that show us losing quite a few teachers the last 2 years, 21, 22. We lost 137, 22, 23, 150. The year before that, we had 79 that had retired or left the district. And at our last meeting, we had talked about, have we found anything through exit surveys or any data saying why people are leaving?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, for the meeting, I believe on July 25th or August 8th, we are going to go back like 3, 4, 5 years, look at, this is what you're talking about, Beth, look at how many people left in those years and just look at that data and do that comparison. We did that comparison with 21, 22 and half of 22, 23. So we're going to do the same thing. We get it from the personnel reports. Regarding exit surveys, I have not had the time to study that stuff, but we're going to be hopefully studying that, examining it over the next month and reporting to you on what we find. We'll go from there. And then of course the staff survey, we're going to report out on that also. So in essence, it's all coming.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Biff stress teachers leaving in. You know, grand total of loss this year is 154, which is an all-time high as far as I've seen. But what disturbed me most was the just absolutely wholesale loss of administrators. I mean, I think we got two people left from you know, in principalships and associate principalships. Maybe 3 left from last year. I know that some like Lee is going in the central administration, but nevertheless, we lost a whole cadre of the people that were running the schools, the administrators that were leading the schools. So I think that is something that we really need to find an explanation for.
Yeah, I can share with you some information. I was just looking through here. So I think the first person to resign, administrators now, was Courtney. Did you pronounce that?
Mhm.
Jefferson. Her husband is a pastor. He accepted a position down in Hamilton, Sussex.
Okay.
So of course that happened there, and she's going down there with him, obviously. Monroe, Andrea, ended up getting she lives in Green Bay. She found a job in Green Bay, like across the street. I think it's Fort Howard Elementary School. No commute. I mean, just Madison, Rachel, lives in Appleton, commutes across on Highway 10, which is a 2-lane hour drive, so to speak. She has 3 children. She also has a job in south part of Green Bay, which is about a 25-minute commute. So I'm just giving you some examples of what I think. Let's see, who else? We've had a lot of movement, trust me, a lot of movement, but there's been a lot of internal people moving into positions too. I'm just thinking of Wilson Carey, the associate principal at Wilson, took a job in Bonduelle, and when I asked her, talk to me a little bit about what's going on, she said, well, Bonduelle, I live in Green Bay, short commute. I wanted a 6-12 setting so that after I spent some years as an associate principal in 6-12 setting, then I can go to a middle school or high school, whatever I think I'm gonna be best suited at. See who else left the district, help me out, am I missing?
Corey.
Corey Erlinson, Wilson principal, took the superintendency in Michigan. So nice promotion for him. That's where he's going. Thank you. Who else have I forgot? You know, yeah, so everything else has been kind of internal movement, so.
Still, I mean, we're kind of rebuilding the infrastructure.
But it's a good explanation. It's good info.
Well, thank you for the facts, to completely explain the narrative that people are just leaving gangbusters with the results.
Yeah, I have not found that people are leaving the district because they're disgruntled, upset with whatever. I think they're fairly satisfied, fairly content. They just had some opportunities that came along. So, but we've had a lot of people moving into different chairs, but you know what? I think the future's bright. I'm telling you, I think we've got a good administrative team on board, and I think the future's gonna be good here.
Good, Mike, those are very logical reasons as well. Understand. And we have two parts to the personnel report. One of them is the addendum, and I'd like to have those approved together. So can I get the motion to approve the personnel and the addendum report?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Tony Westelica,
I'll second.
seconded by President Saldner. All those in favor by saying aye. You have something else to say?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Before I can consider this at all,
Okay.
I need to understand, under recommendations for approval, we have a principal from Monroe that I don't see has administrative certification or an administrative background. And unlike the associate principal that we're looking at for Lincoln, there's not even an indication that they'll be working on acquiring licensure as an administrator while in the position.
Yeah.
So I'd like to understand what's going on.
No, that's really observant of you, Chris.
Okay.
And that's absolutely correct. So, let's just start with Ben Rico, the associate principal at Lincoln. Ben has started his program. What I mean by started, he's enrolled in the program. He will be doing the program throughout next school year. He will complete the program sometime next spring. He is going to be on what we call a board-approved, board-requested 1-year administrator principal license. And I've worked with President Solar on that, and she will be signing that document that Ben will upload to that application. So that's that.
Is that our in-house program?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. And then Alexandra, I'm drawing a little bit of a blank because I think Alexandra at first said she was going to be wrapping up everything this summer, but I think she's going to be wrapping up everything like December of 23. And once again, I'm going to have to look at that a little bit more closely. And we might have to do the same type of process with that situation, Chris. Does that help? Does that make sense?
So she is currently pursuing the coursework and requirements to get an administrative license.
Yeah, she's totally enrolled. She's enrolled in a program. She's been already taking credits. The school district where she's at has been paying for those credits because they see her as a very viable school administrator. And obviously she's coming to us, and yeah.
And she too then would be going on a provisional license until she gets.
It's called a 1-year administrator license, board requested
license. Okay.
Correct. Same thing. And it's a 1-year, and should they not complete the program in 1 year, to my knowledge, they get 1 year to complete that program. So, okay. Unless there's probably extenuating circumstances, stuff could happen.
Then I would request that we divide the motion to remove those two from voting everything as a whole. Because I do not want to take them with everyone else.
You've got the motion.
I'll
for that.
second that just for discussion.
Pardon me?
I'll second his motion for discussion.
We're open for discussion.
Well, I'll divide the motion. A motion to divide is actually non-debatable. You either approve it or you don't. You are allowed to explain why you're asking for it. And obviously.
But we're, as a whole, we're gonna be either approving it or not approving it, correct?
The motion
No,
to divide, and the motion to divide.
Right.
Is not.
Oh, so we don't need to discuss that. Okay.
Yeah, so you either accept my motion to divide or you don't.
Okay. All those in favor?
Can I have before, can you name the people?
Oh, that would be the, for the principal position at Monroe and the associate principal at Lincoln.
Okay, we'll get a count here. All those in favor by pulling those two out and dividing this motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those,
Who are the ayes?
I'm an aye.
okay. All those opposed? Nay?
Nay.
Okay, ayes have it. So we're gonna be voting on the approval of the personnel report and the addendum report subtracting what you divided.
Well,
Those two, and then we can take those two up. Or we can take those two up and the others. You can do it either way you want.
Let's just do the whole personnel and the addendum, subtracting the two that you had requested to pull out and we voted in favor of.
Thank you.
Okay. All those, we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor to approve the personnel report and addendum report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, that's approved. Now we're gonna go through and open up this for discussion or?
Yeah, and if you, thank you for permitting me to continue on.
Yeah.
But I wanted to explain why I requested that and what I'm looking to amend to.
Yeah.
And what I would like to ask is that we amend both of these that say 2-year contract to 1-year contract, because neither has an administrative license. If they don't have an administrative license by the end of next year, I don't understand why we would give them a 2-year contract until they meet all the obligations we're asking for. So all I'm asking for is to amend them to a 1-year contract.
It is a question from Mike. Is the 2-year contract, it's subject to them completing that?
If they did not have a administrator license for 24-25, the contract is null and void.
Okay.
And it says that in the contract. In the employment agreement, it says if they don't
I
have.
to look at that, Chris.
Okay.
I have to look at that. But I think Wisconsin statute, there, you cannot operate without a license. You can't.
Right.
So if they don't
That
have a
was
license.
my understanding, but we've
Well,
run
they
into
they
this,
have a license here. This is a DPI license.
we've run into this once or twice already, which is why I'm being careful.
But under Wisconsin state law is what you're telling me is that if they do not complete it throughout this year,
And if they do
the
not have a-
contract is null and void.
If they do not have a license, to my knowledge, the contract's null and void. It's the same with the teacher license. Under contract, you have to have a license. You have to be licensed.
Okay. Do you anticipate any like negative feedback for them to, if we change it to a 1-year, just to go to?
I would.
I was kind of thinking that too. I don't want to, deter them from
Staying.
coming. You know what I'm saying?
When I speak to them, I tell them that this is a 2-year contract and it gets renewed at 1 year at a time, but it's always a 2-year contract. And then when we put into our email summary with them, we communicate with them, it says a 2-year contract in there. So I've communicated that to them. So if we went to a 1-year contract, obviously I have to call them up, I have to explain the why to them, and hopefully they'd be okay with it.
As a teacher, I have 4 teachers or, prior teachers and substitute teachers and everything else right here. What would you feel?
As an educator, we always got 1-year contracts.
yeah.
With what you're saying, that without that licensure, they would not get, even though they'd have a 2-year contract. I just want to make sure that what you're saying sounds great to me, that if they don't finish, they don't have the license and they can't do this job.
Yeah.
Okay. My concern is some of the things we talked about over the last couple of weeks about 2-year contracts and having to pay people and things. As long as that's the case, what you're saying, then I'd have no problem with it.
Yeah, right.
As long as that is what we're talking
One
about.
second, Jim. I have Stacy on the
Yeah.
request here. Stacy?
Yeah, I was gonna say, one of the things that, we've been talking about with regards to the governance model is what information that we want. So I think maybe at the end of each one of these contracts that the board is updated to make sure that all these people going into their next year have the proper credentialing.
And that's something that could be
I
updated
think
in their
that would be a way
contract?
for us to keep track.
Okay.
No, what I'm saying is that the board knows that everyone's on the 2-year contract, and instead of just letting it go, that we would be updated on where everyone's at with the administrative contracts.
Okay.
So these people have exceptional ability or something. I mean, on the one hand, we keep saying, oh gee, it's a big market and it's open and people are moving and mobility is way up because, and
Did you read their qualification? Some of the.
yeah, I did. But the fact is that, if they don't have the license, why are we hiring the people that don't have the license?
Coming from out of state.
We are hiring the best possible people we believe that can come into this district and be exceptional leaders. That's what we're looking
All
for.
right.
That's what we're looking for. And if like Ann Alexandra is already enrolled in a program, then she applies any district in the state. And if they hire her, like we want to hire her, you have that opportunity to do that board requested 1-year license. And that's a valid.
So if we didn't approve
license.
the 2-year contract, we'd be probably losing some exceptional talent. Is that
I
what you're
don't-
saying?
Carrie, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know what Alexandra might say or what she might do. I don't know if she's gonna feel so offended and hurt or upset that she would say, I'm not coming. I don't know.
Well-
I think she's very excited to come. We had a meet and greet out at Monroe. They're very excited about her. I have to tell you, for what it's worth.
yeah, well, that's
I've been
cool.
doing
Okay,
this business a long
I'm
time.
just,
Well, I think it's a valid question, and I
She is.
actually kind of
Yeah.
appreciate that you
She's
pulled it up,
top-notch.
because this way we
yeah,
can know.
okay. That's what I asked.
She's top notch and, so. And you have to also understand, just bear with me here, but you also have to understand that we could have a pool. First of all, the pool for principals is less than the pool for associate principals. Because associate principals are entry-level positions for the most part. Principals, the pools are much shallower. And when it comes to this time of year, they're pretty doggone shallow because the cream of the crop pretty much has landed a position somewhere because there's plenty of vacancies in the state of Wisconsin. I mean, it's up to you as a board.
Go ahead, Ben.
There is something important to know, being a special education teacher. Many special education teachers are on license to get certified because there is a shortage. In the case of knowing one of these people, they've had some training to be an AP as a dean of students. So in that case, I'm pretty sure that person understands a lot of what's going to be coming at him or her.
Okay.
So that decision has been made. Hey, I want to be an administrator and I'm going to work on it. So if we say, don't do it until you're completely done, I don't think we would lose this person because he's made his home here. Okay.
But it could be scooped up.
But there's other districts around.
Yeah.
But you're okay with this?
I feel more confident because I've seen that person in action.
Okay.
Okay, so I feel very good about that. I do not know the other person, but I feel comfortable if we have the ability to say, hey, you don't have a license. this isn't working, see ya, we don't have to pay them for the second year, then I don't have a problem. So that's there.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, Alexandria, I do apologize for this scrutiny, in the situation. Obviously, it's not just this situation, it's more of a bigger problem or a bigger concern we've had in the district overall about termination and people that have had issues. So I don't want to put her on the thumb of being the problem. And unfortunately, she's in the middle of it at this moment, and the other person as well. So I would apologize to her. I've never met her at this point, but I am sorry for what she's getting dragged through at the moment. But I do a compliment Biff for, he's trying to understand, hey, we need to solve these issues moving forward so we don't get into the problems that we're got into in the past. So I commend your due diligence in trying to understand why we don't want to go down that road. At the same time, I want to make sure we extend the offer equitably to her so that she is a viable administrator throughout the whole district, and she is becoming of a high standing coming into the district. So I will be voting for her 2-year contract because of that matter. But I do understand what we're trying to achieve, so we don't have the problems and the pitfalls that we have had in the past. So thank you.
Let me make one more comment about elementary principalships. Okay?
Sure.
Most often, a middle school principalship or a high school principalship, you have the entry-level associate principals that move into those roles because they get some administrative experience. At the elementary level, it's rare you would have it's not as common to have an entry-level position, and then they get experience and then go into a principalship. So therefore, it's not all that uncommon to have somebody that goes into an elementary principalship with relatively zero experience.
So can, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but can I entertain a motion to approve these two?
I'll second that.
Tony does have his hand raised.
Oh, Tony, I apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I was
I was just gonna comment. It sounds like we have a mechanism here where if she doesn't get it.
We have an out.
I didn't understand what you said. I apologize.
He's got his phone.
You have your phone on as well too, or something? Now you muted us.
He's in Denver.
Can you guys hear me now or no?
Yeah, better.
All right, sorry, I'm having audio. It sounds to me like we have a mechanism to get out of it if it doesn't work out, if she doesn't get the license. So I say we move to the vote.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second.
Can you repeat those motions and second put those two again?
I motion, Matthew seconded.
And can I clarify, is this a motion and a second for a 1 year or a 2 year?
This is to approve what we have been presented as a 2-year.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that's approved.
I'm a nay.
I didn't, sorry. I thought we all did, sorry. And all those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, and we're gonna move on to the monthly donation list. Do we have anybody talking about those others? Is that Angela or?
Yes, we just had this reposted in board book and, just from the beginning of the month meeting. And we have 2 donations that are listed as a part of this, the Miracle Splash donation. Katie, do you want to speak to that a little bit? You did a little bit of the previous meeting. But
Yes, just to reiterate, the Miracle Splash is a local organization that supports individuals with disabilities in our community, and they like to be able to donate typically some more difficult to obtain equipment and supplies to schools to support students with disabilities. So we have been fortunate to ask for a couple of adult-size strollers that will help students with mobility around the community, and then an adaptive swing for the Franklin playground for students with more significant disabilities.
That's very nice.
And then there was an additional donation noted in board book from the James E. Actually, it's a grant from the James E. Foundation for a project, very specific project at the school forest. So As I mentioned a little bit at the last meeting, there's a 501c3 requirement to receive the funding. And so the plan would be to forward this to the foundation as they have that status and they can formally accept it under their provisions. I just had brought it to the board's attention because they had wanted the board's board approval.
Right. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Beth.
I just have a question. Have we finalized our who can donate and who can't? We got a letter today about one of these donations.
Yeah, that was regarding whether it was a special interest.
Right.
group, but-
Do we have that list so we can?
There
so
is,
people
there
can-
is no list.
Yeah.
So
It's
how
a
do we
policy that
decide?
governs the policy. If you went back and looked at the policy, it would explain there's nothing in that policy that would rule this out. They
So
are-
what,
And that was a grant.
In terms of
That was a grant
policy.
we applied for.
right,
That's for the trail.
is there a way that somebody goes through the list and says, no, we can't take money from this group? That's not what I'm asking.
No, I don't think that would be pertaining to getting this June donations approved.
No, I
either as
understand
well.
that. What I'm looking
I'm
for
gonna
is-
keep us on task here.
Okay, are we there? Or is that something that someday will come in a committee meeting somehow?
I got the same, maybe Gabriel.
Isn't that under the purview of the superintendent?
And the person said, well, Dutton, they're a special interest group. I'm gonna recommend that you don't accept that because, there's been one group that has been picked on, for,
And that's,
maybe not valid.
to be honest with you, Carrie, that was obviously spiteful. Number one.
I don't know if it's spiteful.
Yes, it is. Of course it is. We actually applied for this grant, number one. It's pertaining exactly to what we do
Yeah.
at the school force. This is getting into, throwing names. We're not even gonna do that right
Oh, okay.
now.
So we just leave it up to the superintendent to pick and
It is in the purview of the superintendent to follow that policy.
I mean, I'd like the money. I'd like to say Dutton's fine with me.
Of course.
I just don't understand the sort of the making of the exceptions.
Like, no, that's where we're veering away from June 2023 donations. I understand where you're going with that, and maybe we can bring that up in a discussion later. But right now, we're discussing this memo here about the donations for June of 2023.
Okay.
Stacy, are you raising your hand? I can't see.
I am not.
Oh,
I
okay,
am
so-
not.
Okay.
Well, I'd just like to say, this is awesome for the Miracle Splash donation. I mean, this is,
Yes.
adult strollers, that's expensive. It's $2,800 and $2,850 per stroller. I mean, this is awesome. I mean, this is community involvement. This is
I
what we
agree.
need. This is the direction that we're going. And I thank them very much. So.
I think that even most, as a grandfather of prior special needs baby, I had gone through this as well too, and we depend on people helping out. I mean, it was one thing that we were worried about too when we finally, for Ember, what's her name, when we finally got to have somebody donated us a stroller. It was like a $3,000 stroller, and it's just something that wants to bring tears to my eyes. So, I don't want to be crying here, but to be honest with you, that's just amazing. So. Okay, did we have a motion for this?
No, I don't
There was
think
only
so.
one that we needed to approve on here was the Miracle Splash donation.
I think both,
Well, we're gonna
I think we should
vote for all.
Yes,
just as a provision of
we'll go for them all,
would be.
the entire donation. Okay. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the donation list.
All right, Stacey's motioning.
I'll second.
Chris is seconding. All those in favor by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right, approved. And right now, we're gonna go to, this is the end of the year reporting. We have Assistant Superintendent Jamie to present here.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to report out on what's called the achievement gap reduction. This is a required reporting. We have to report 2 times per year. And typically this is done by our building principals, but Courtney happens to be on vacation. Lucky Courtney. And so I'll be doing her portion and then Matt will follow. We currently have 2 schools that get the achievement gap reduction funding, and each school gets approximately $300,000. I have a short presentation that I'm hoping I can share with you. If not, I sent it to you in the event that I couldn't get it to open. So to get open. Okay, tell me you can see that.
We can. You guys are probably not aware, but we don't have the big projector. We've got smaller screen
I
TV.
heard that. So I did send it to you in your email as well, just so that you can see it. So what I want to share with you is what AGR can be spent for. And you'll notice right here, there's a 1, 2, and a 3. You can use your money for one-to-one tutoring provided by a licensed teacher. You can use the money for instructional coaching for teachers provided by a licensed teacher. That's where Jefferson spent some of their money last year on a math coach. And you can use some of your dollars to maintain an 18-to-1 ratio or a 30-to-2 classroom ratio. And that's typically done in the lower L, K, 1, and 2. And that was also done at Jefferson this year. I'm going to close out of that, and now I want to share the data. There are 2 points of data that I'm going to share with you. One is progress that was made, and that's something that we have to celebrate. And then we're going to look at proficiency. Just because we have progress doesn't mean we have proficiency, and it's hard to get proficiency if you're below grade level without adequate progress. So the 2 need to be looked at kind of hand in hand. And to make it a little bit easier, because I knew the screens would be difficult, I went through and I highlighted. If you see green, this is the progress document. You will note that there is progress from specific data points from the winter term when it was reported to the spring term. So I'm happy to show you all of the green. The yellow means there was no progress. It just kind of stood still. And keep in mind that a lot of times when we have data points, the expectation of the data is higher. So in other words, I would expect a kindergarten student to enter kindergarten knowing maybe 5 letters, but by midway, I might expect them to know 20. So you can see that they have to increase their knowledge in order to keep the same standing. So the yellow is still good. And then when you see something that's red, what you see is that our student learning didn't keep on pace with the expectations. Blue simply means it wasn't measured in the winter time, but is being measured now. But you can see we've done fairly well when it comes to growth. Quite a bit of green and yellow. And you can see the numbers probably closer with the one that I sent you. And blue again means that it wasn't measured in the winter. Okay, the next one that we're going to take a quick look at is proficiency. If I can keep it there. There, doggone it. There we go. And so the proficiency, what you're going to notice is what I did was I took the number 80%. Because with core instruction, we expect 80% of the students to be meeting that standard. And you can see that we have a number of areas where we are meeting the 80%. The yellow on this chart shows you that this is below what our expectation would be for proficiency. So you can, I mean, I'm celebrating and I see a lot of green. The yellow is opportunity to grow. Okay. Can I answer any questions for you?
I have none.
How can we quantify it? Jamie, is the best way to quantify it because of the return on investment of this, of using these funds? Is there a way you can measure that besides just the growth and then below proficiency still? Have you looked into any way we can narrow that gap to understand it?
I would tell you, I haven't looked at return on investment in this, but I would say that we are looking at these funds for next year to make some really targeted decisions. Primarily, it will be classroom reduction for kindergarten, first, and possibly second grade. And then there's enough money that we can hire one-to-one tutoring, which is what we'll do at Jefferson, because we have hired coaching. So given that we have similar teaching staff, I don't think coaching is probably our best investment there. I will be working with Lisa Delsman to try to determine, based on where we are now, what is the best path forward to make sure that we meet our needs. And I still need to follow up with having Matt report out a little on his data as well.
Thank you.
So Matt, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Heller, principal at Franklin. I'm not going to add a ton to what Jamie said because she covered it pretty much in detail, and Franklin's data and Jefferson's data looks pretty similar because the two schools are similar. Takeaways that I would kind of just put out there for the board to consider. As our students go through the grades, our younger grades, generally K1, 2, very strong growth, both in literacy and math. Literacy always being a little weaker than math, and we're hoping that SFA is going to help us with that next year. We've seen great progress made with Bridges. Our state report card grew by 8 points last year, brought us up into the meets expectations category, and that was almost entirely due to math growth. So we'll see kind of where we're at this summer with those forward scores coming back. What I will say about the AGR report is that as we get to the second and third grades, growth starts to taper off. And I just know from looking at Franklin's overall data, looking at fourth and fifth as well, is that's the general trend, is we don't see as good a progress made by our fourth and fifth grade students. We did see it last year with our math data. Again, that mainly due to Bridges. And we're hoping that SFA is going to help us kind of correct that with our literacy data going forward as well. So I would say, generally speaking, as principals of the building, we've got a good group of teachers who are capable of getting good growth scores out of our students as long as they've got an effective curriculum to work with. They showed us that with Bridges over the last couple of years, last 2 years, and I hope that we see that going forward with Success for All as well. Those are kind of my main share outs. I'm not going to talk, at great length. You guys have the data to look at as well from the AGR report, but those are kind of my main takeaways from that, from the data. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have about that.
Thank you, Matthew. Do you have any other questions from the board? Go ahead, Matthew.
Matt, so would you advocate for more reduction in ratio at the 4 to 5 grade level, or the kindergarten to first and second grade level?
I would always prioritize the younger grades. I want to keep those class numbers lowest when possible, but I would never say that it wouldn't also be beneficial in the upper grades too. But given a choice, I'm always going to want to keep those kindergarten classes the smallest, then first, then second. If given the opportunity, I would continue that all the way up till fifth grade. When you've got a building like Franklin that's like 65% low-income students, it makes a big difference because we do deal with a lot of behavior. We're also the largest elementary school in the district. Yeah, I would always prioritize our youngest students first, and then only the upper grades when possible.
Thank you.
Well, amazing. Okay, so that's the information, and we're going to move right along. Any other questions? Just make sure. Good. Move right along to the building and grounds update from the Director of Business Services. So go ahead, Angela.
Okay, yes, along with Mike Schwartz, we have an update for you, and I'd like to first start off with this posted in board notebook, a bunch of the information we're going to share with you tonight, so we can use it as a reference. I'd like to introduce Mike Schwartz as our new buildings and grounds manager. We welcome him to the district. So
welcome.
He's been with us since April, so he's been working very closely with Krista Frey to get acquainted with just things across the district. So it's been very, very nice to sort of pass that information along. So welcome you to the district, and it's been wonderful working side by side with him on a lot of these projects. So, and I want you to have a chance to ask questions as you need to. But one of the things we've been working on is just planning for summer projects and looking ahead to the next year, especially with the additional funding that we have through the referendum. So we put together the attachment that is labeled with the MPSC Buildings and Grounds Project Planning. So I know it's a little bit, you might have to zoom in on it, but it has a lot of nice information about timelines and what we're working on. So, let Mike talk about this a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, cool.
So everyone knows that.
We're happy to have you.
I'm enjoying it, and Christopher's been working closely with me, and I really appreciate the information he's given me as well. So it's been very transition here. We've got a couple of projects going on that have been in the works for quite a while, but some of the major ones are the tuck pointing over at Lincoln High School. That they're going to be starting after the 4th of July. Looks about like a 5 or 6 week project. And then there's a roof section over there too that's going to be done. Some of the things we're starting to run into now are the people problems, contractor problems, and all of that that we're hearing everywhere else. The stuff was all scheduled, and then about 2 days kind of before they're supposed to be starting, they're saying that we just don't have the personnel right now. So it's all on their schedule, and it's all going to be completed this summer and into fall. We tried to get a lot of it done before school started, but I think some of this stuff's going to be going on when school is going on, but away from the kids, that sort of thing. I don't know, the list is here. I mean, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, I can try to answer them.
Not this time.
We have a project at Jefferson going on, is that correct? How is that going?
The school.
That's the playground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that going on right now? Shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's what
Yeah, it is.
do you have any information about that?
They removed the asphalt and they're bringing in the stone base right now. And I just stopped by there today. I would say they're probably a week behind. They were supposed to start the last day of school, and the excavator wasn't able to show up at. He just had so many projects, but he got there like 2 or 3 days later. They're moving along on it nicely. So,
okay. Do we have a rendering at all for the community to see?
Yeah.
Because I did hear it on the radio, but I think it was broadcasted at the wrong facility. I think they said Jackson was getting an improvement.
I heard something different too, and I was like, wait a minute.
I mean, I'm not blaming this district. I'm blaming the radio station at this point, because it was announced on the radio the wrong facility. And once I heard that, I tried to make that correction. The individual had asked me, but I want to make sure we're really engaging in our community, understanding that that's an investment that is a long-term investment that we're trying to give back to that school, and we're committed to that school. So I was curious about the rendering. We have a rendering, a drawing that we wanted to produce so that we can see, so people can see what it was and what it is, and get excited about it so that they know we're investing in our future.
And there was one that was unveiled at the school, and I'm sure we can get an electronic one easily to share on the website. And I just looked because we had received CK for Broadcasting had put out a press release, and it does say Jefferson in that. So I don't know,
good.
maybe that was I'm
Good. I just heard it on the radio.
Yeah.
Sure. But yeah, we can for sure take a look at getting that, up somewhere.
So like you said, having it on the website, maybe that would be a good idea. I know it's a PDF, probably a pretty big PDF or something, but that would probably be a good idea as well. Maybe anything publicly, just so our community knows that we're investing a great deal of resources for that facility. I'm not saying we just need to highlight that, that's what we need to be doing.
For sure. Yes, no, we'd be happy to. I can take a look into that and work with Jessica to pray and getting our website updated.
Thank you.
I used to be the chair of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, but I don't know what a classroom riser removal project is. What is that?
It's just like this right here.
So there are risers in school. These are risers and they're in schools and they're being taken out.
It looks to me like they were built when the computer era came in. And then they had desks in there and countertops and all of that. Now they're looking at using 2 of them for SFA storage areas or facility, and they would like a flat floor. We didn't know what was in there, and we took out the cabinetry and we found out that it's kind of a steel wall built in and just a 2-inch layer of concrete.
Okay.
So I've talked to Herb Seiler and, he gave us a really favorable price for
Oh, that's
removing
good.
that, and it's something he can get at right away, so. We'll have
Fix our
a flag.
sidewalks while he's at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The LED program I thought was like just really a great idea. And I just wonder how expensive is that? What all has to be done to do that? It's going to be done incrementally from what I read. Yeah. But is it?
We met with, MPU and, who was the other one?
And Focus on
Focus
Energy.
on Energy.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
And, so I've contacted a few electricians in the area who are versed in this, and we're just getting into that project right now.
Okay.
I'm excited about
That's a
that
cool
because it's a
project,
fewer
yeah.
savings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I did want to provide a quick clarification on here, and I just realized this now after several reviews before we had posted this, but we had included the funding source on this, and inadvertently the tuck pointing at Lincoln High School, that's going to be coming out of general fund. So this is a new format for us. So you know, the main thing with Fund 46, just because that comes in collected from time, is the Jefferson Playground, and we also have over $1 million of hardwired and wireless technology upgrades that are coming out of Fund 46, just as a point of information. So this document itself will focus on building projects, but really the technology infrastructure is a major cost to the district as well, and we may capture that on a similar report at some point as well. So.
I just want to highlight as well, graduation, from being there and witnessing it, not behind the scenes. I think it was great, and the setup and the facilities were beautiful. So I'd like to thank you and Chris Dupree for doing that. I don't know the intricacies behind the scenes and how many challenges there were, but experiencing it, I was very thankful, and it was very beautiful. And just thank you for doing your job effectively to get that done without going off with a hitch. So thank you.
I'll pass it along to the ones who did the work, so.
Yeah. Cool.
And then along with, just to move on a little bit, I mean, just interrupt me if you have any additional questions, but the facility use fees is something that we wanted to bring forward and share with the board as well. And I included some comparables. Stan Dietrich had collected several comparables as well for what other districts charge for sporting related things.
Yeah,
and then I looked and collected like Green Bay, Appleton too, just so we can get kind of a scope. Really, we haven't been able to truly find what the last and most recent schedule of fees is. So we, you know, are reestablishing this to move forward with something concrete. And
is this student fees or is this facilities?
Facility rental and stuff.
Yeah. So we need, that was kicked down the street we can with, we were trying to, actually it was back in 14 or 15, Chris was trying to get something done, or it was on the agenda. I saw that because I looked it up, and it was never done then. About the getting an agreement or getting a fee schedule. That was back 2015. And then it was on the agenda last year. It was talked about for a couple minutes and nothing ever happened to it. Yes, you can be an example to that. And so, yeah, I mean, that is a priority of mine, and I believe Carrie's, that we get a plan in order, and Stan's, to be frankly honest, that we need to have a plan on how we're going to be scheduling fees to facility usage.
Yeah, I thought the proposal was a really good proposal. And then it's, you know, it allows a lot of accessibility for a reasonable cost, but it also covers, you know, the wear and tear, I think. And yeah, I thought it was, I'm voting for it. So.
Yeah, I see we're very reasonable too in comparison to Green Bay, and what was the other one that I seen? Maybe was it a Sheboygan one that was in there or something?
I think Sheboygan's guidelines were in there, so I just grabbed this comparison.
Okay.
So, and we don't have to formally adopt them and approve them by policy or state statute. The student fees, we do have to, but I just felt it would be important, as with the work that we've been, you know, putting forth on this, that the board is aware of what we are charging. And, you know, we have a system where, you know, we have someone in the business office that works and assists she's the buildings and grounds administrative assistant. So she works with Mike in regards to like booking for events and the certificates of insurance, and then the business office can fill an invoice if that applies to an event. So we have a nice solid system in place. So it's very, very nice. So it feels good to have this set.
So thank you, because now we have something moving forward
Mhm.
and we can be clear and we don't have to, tiptoe around who's using what. Now we have a schedule and we can use that as a reference
Yes.
instead of just willy-nilly saying, hey, you can use it, show me your insurance. So thank you for getting that done because that's been a priority of the boards for many years. It's just been kicked down.
Good, definitely, yes. I remember it was one of the first things we talked about when we got on the Building and Grounds Committee last year.
So, yeah, it's good, really good, I think.
Right. Any other questions?
Only other things I was gonna mention, like we talked about LED lighting, there's some energy program updates I'll share with Jim and he can share with, regarding our synergistic energy program and just, the ESER 2 building projects. Those are really coming to a close by, September 30th, so.
We're gonna spend all that money though.
Oh, for sure.
Which is really good, yeah.
Well, when we initially met as, an administrative team, that it was decided that ESER 2 money would be put aside for buildings and grounds. So like the automated logic was a huge investment for that, over $2 million.
But I think it's being spent in a real responsible way. I mean, it's not just like, oh God, we don't have any money left, when it ends. But I think the projects that it's been put to are really.
And you can't just build a school or say you're gonna put, you can't just do any kind of buildings and grounds projects. They have to meet certain criteria to be under ESER funding.
Yep.
So how do we make amendments if there's a conflict with the fee schedule? If somebody has an issue or wants to bring it up to the attention of a supervisor? Why would there be? Because maybe there's an inner conflict between one organization trying to use it and another, and they've said that they've been using it for so long. I understand that. I'm just saying, does the grievance just come through and then we
I can see it happening.
we should try to have some sort of plan of bringing up the questionable things that somebody might have. It's down the road, I'm saying.
In policy, it's like in Mike's role, he would decide or he would make the approval of who gets to use that one. And he would have, already has a pretty good working knowledge of how some of those historic things work. It doesn't avoid every conflict, but I think we would essentially work together to sort it out if something would be in conflict.
Yeah, I don't want to defuse a problem before it becomes a problem.
No, that makes sense.
I think it's administrator, isn't it?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, right.
The district always has precedence over
Yeah,
anyone
right.
else.
Yeah, I'm not saying time-wise,
So
I'm
that
saying-
they always give precedence over an outside agency using the facility.
And I would think too, like a timestamp on a request would probably have, everything would be weighed, individually, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was another issue I didn't even think of about time sensitivity. Yeah, so thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Cool.
Anything else, Brandon? No? Okay, we'll move right into the strategic plan update by Superintendent File.
Yeah, I provided a couple of pieces of paper on your, in front of you, and a couple of things. One is, I have a packet here just in terms of, what I did was, there's a lot of reference out there. You can Google search in terms of what's the rank of the school districts. And so I went and there was 3 or 4 that were listed. And the top 10 kept coming back together in slightly different orders. The numbers of schools counted were different, from what DPI might count to, so whether or not it was dividing it by K-8 versus K-12. What I just wanted to do though was to share our rank in terms of how we started, this school year out, to know in terms of our starting place, in terms of where we're moving forward with the strategic plan to improve. So as you can see, and we've talked about before, it's not highlighted because we're going to go to become a top tier. And I think it's just really important to make sure that we understand our base of reference in terms of where we started from to where we're going. So that first sheet, and what I would also encourage you to do is take time to look at those top 10 school districts in terms of see what's on their webpage and stuff like this. With that, where we ended up with a strategic plan is on the second sheet, just on the back page of that. And those are performance indicators. And what we're doing right now is Jamie's done a great job of coming together. She's already actually presented some of this information of the historical data. So we want to make sure you have the
historical data as well as baseline data where we have it. Now, if we haven't been doing an assessment, we obviously don't have baseline data. We've been making decisions to put missing pieces in place. So I think it's really important to understand, as we've communicated before, many things lacking in the school system that you would have expected to be there. What we did recognize was that we've got very capable people, but without the systems in place to really get the effort channel or the curriculum, so again, a major problem with our literacy rates in terms of where 70% of our kids are not reading at grade level. We have obviously some work ahead of us. But as you also wanted was performance indicators. And so what I have here is what we started with, where we've added some to that, and we're loading that data. And when we get back together for a strategic plan update, in terms of, okay, where are we at with the launch, and what else have you done in terms of that, and anything else, and what does that look like in terms of our trend data to our baseline data, where we have and can establish baseline to what our targets are. I mean, you almost need baseline to be able to establish targets. So all this stuff is available, but we're still heavily involved in closing out the school year and starting to get ready. But I wanted you to know that we are really working on this. Now, the other thing that I've identified was, do we want to use the format that we've been started with, or is there a better format in terms of how we might present information? So I went and I looked in the top 10, and I looked, and we kind of scoured schools in terms of who seems to be communicating well with their community. And I just included two. One was Elbrook, and it's only a 2-page there. You can probably find more data within their system, okay? And so you can see that on page 6 and 7. But then I also included, and they weren't in the top 10, but it was pretty impressive, their 2-page summary, as well as the detail they had behind it, which is, again, summary data. But that data is presented similar to how Jamie had presented an update before in terms of how we were doing academically. So, I mean, my administrative team is looking, okay, in terms of how do we really be as effective as we can in our transparency and keep it simple principle, in terms of so that people can understand where we're at. And so this provides you just some of the things to consider, as well as what others are using for key performance indicators. I really, there's a mixture of two in there. I really liked in terms of what you saw with the schools at our top are comparing themselves to the schools at the top. Everybody's trying to outperform. And I think if we don't set ourselves high, or if you don't know where you're going, any road's going to get you there. I think we have to, we've got the people. I think we now have, we've got 10 schools with a whole school research-based curriculum. That's more than literacy. It's also significant research regarding cooperative learning and the leverage of your empowering kids to own their learning more by their level of engagement. So we're really excited about this, and the success for all model just doesn't take anything for granted. If you're not paying attention to attendance, that might be your problem and your downfall. So it really suggests, not that we aren't doing much of this already, we are, but consistently. I think that's always been part of our challenge. And I think what we'll see is we anticipate that we'll do well. I believe we're sending, we'll be sending a good team of people for training, and then there's a lot of significant training that will be planned. But this is just providing you a little bit about where we're trying to get things in place for our August gathering, in terms of, okay, how does our data look with our trends? So it's easy to see. How are we going to do it? In all honesty, as we've talked about some other areas, there's some real overhaul work to be done. Like, do we have the right platform for our webpage? Or are we spending a lot of resources trying to jury-rig that to give us what we want? And yet you just can't snap a finger. You have to start working through this. And I think what we did was we handled some really big projects this year, and we've got things teed up nicely. And we're already, I believe, making progress. And I think there's excitement out there in terms of, it's nice now seeing our teachers leading much of our discussions in terms of success for all, which is very exciting. Have people step into there. So this is just a little bit more to tell you we are working on this, still behind the scenes, but this will give you a little bit better idea of what it might look like when we get together in August with our complete data. Most definitely historical, so you'll see the trend as well as baseline if we have it. If we haven't had the assessment, that still will have to come in the first part of the school year. But we'll get this stuff, figure out how to load it up on the webpage so that it's very accessible, as well as some of the other things that we just shared tonight about how important it is to create some visibility.
And maybe Jamie, maybe you could answer this, or Jim. Do you think we need to have a KPI for our AGR gap? Is that something that we should have in here? The report that you did earlier. Or will that be covered in the ones we already have?
I think it'll be covered in the ones we already have, and it would not cover our report out because the AGR is very specific in what you have to report.
Okay.
And again, they're stepping in because of where we're at or where our performance was level to require more of us. And anytime you, in some ways, lose a trust because you haven't provided, they then start wanting more information to demonstrate you have a plan to change it and improve it.
I was just thinking, I might be wrong about this, but I remember the first time I ever heard about the report. Like, where do the initial goals come from to start that school year? You know, the percentage that's set, the 60, the 80, and then what we're actually going to do, be it letter recognition or something like that. Is that set by the state, or is that something that our professionals sit down and create what we're gonna do?
That's set by the schools along with the teaching staff of that particular building.
Okay.
And how they're going to measure it.
And we would be also looking at long-term in terms of how long and how we bracket that up, you know, in terms of you start thinking about curriculum development where you have the end in mind and you back that up in terms of what it has to. There's challenges here because you could get very much into incremental growth, which is nice, but not enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're 2 years behind grade level, that's not necessarily going to be enough. So you're going to be thinking about how you're going to catch up kids. And because we are where we're at, and we just have to figure out, you know, in terms of we got really a high wall to climb, but that's doable with the people in the right systems and the visibility and accountability. Matthew, were you?
Thank you.
So that's all that I have for this other question.
Okay. Let's see. Nothing in unfinished business, so we're gonna go to new business. We have some out-of-state travel forms here to approve. Do we normally go through these individually?
I would make a motion to take them all together.
Yeah. Can anybody want to? No. All right.
I'll second.
Okay. So we're gonna.
Stacy, did you make the motion?
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
So this is a motion to approve all of the out-of-state travels all together.
Do they need people to go on the Hawaii trip for the chaperone? Let's to go on that.
I'm going next. Super. All those in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Travels approved. That's wonderful. Lincoln High School textbook proposals. We've got family and consumer science, advanced placement English language composition, stats. Jamie, do we have something we can talk about on there?
I've asked Lee to step forward and talk about those.
Or Lee?
Yes, sure. Yeah. So typically there's two, I don't know what the best way to do this is here, but.
Yeah, you're fine. We can hear you.
Yeah. There's typically two reasons we would be adopting new resources. One is for a new class, which two of these fit that description. If you remember back to the fall, you approved the curriculum for our stats program that we have AP stats. Now we're going to have a general mathematics stats as an option for students, very applicable. And then the other one is the AP English and composition. We currently have AP literature. Now we have a language and composition course to go along with that and really upping the rigor in terms of the college readiness for our students. The third proposal is really a class that we already have, which is our culinary arts program. And they use it's really the standard curriculum across the country for culinary arts. It's called ProStart. Our teachers who teach culinary need to be ProStart certified and that sort of thing. So what you have in front of you today are really adoptions for the 2 new courses. So what we do is we have a team of teachers look at the board approved curriculum, and then bring in sample books and resources to take a look at. That team of teachers then analyze it, and you have those included documents, which gives the pros and the cons and the different breakdowns of what they looked at, and then they really provide a recommendation. And then the district really has had a process in which once the board really accepts those, they do go on a view. So we have the copies of those textbooks here for you to review, but also for the public. We do offer a 30-day window for these to be available for the public, so that they can review them, provide feedback, and then they typically come back to you the following month for your stamp of approval after we receive that. So what you have in front of you is the paperwork for the Family and Consumer Science Culinary book, which is of the ProStart curriculum. You have the AP English Language and Composition textbook that was recommended by our English department, and the stats book, which was recommended by our math department.
And what do we have already now? You said we have for AP English this.
Yeah, we have a course called AP. It's a literature course for AP.
Okay.
This is really getting at that language and composition piece and the writing piece, and looking at informational text as opposed to just fictional.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about any of those adoptions. And we do have some of them. And I appreciate, by the way, this is a shout out to our teachers. We have math teachers and family teachers that are here in case you had some specific questions about any of the curriculum. So thanks so much for being here tonight and supporting the process.
I guess I was surprised that we're now starting a more fundamental course in stats. Well, I mean, it's really it really is a good proposal. And I don't know anything about the text, but I trust the people who do. But, it seems like a great thing to do.
Go ahead. I just want to highlight, man, I mean, I really, Mr. Dennis, this is opportunity for our students. Like, I know you're a proponent of this, coming from a small town, saying, hey, we have a plethora of opportunity, and it's up to our students to take the responsibility of those opportunities. And we are giving everybody the chance, the opportunity to learn so much at the high school level. This is just extraordinary. Another aspect of it. Thank you. Thank you to the teachers. We need to, just continue on this road to understand that the opportunity is there. The student, we have to motivate them, take on the responsibility of just harnessing this knowledge that you can have at a high school level. And that's why we got to become a destination. We are, but we have to fulfill it all the way from K through 12. And I thank you for what you've been doing at Lincoln. And the next person will have to take on that responsibility as well of what the teachers hold fast. So thank you very much.
So, Lee, tell me what place are we in the process in the steps?
We're basically asking you to move it forward to the review process.
Okay.
And then after the review next month, if we had any folks coming in and providing us with feedback, we can review that. And then we would ask you to then approve.
I move. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. If you're going to move it, I'll just second.
Yeah, I'll move it.
We have a motion to approve by Carrie, a second by Christopher Abel. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. We appreciate you. Student fees.
Yes, annually, we need to approve student fees. And so we're at the point in the year where we have to get the back to basics communication ready to go and get our systems updated. And so the board has the authority to approve and set the fees each year. We look and study how much the materials are that we are providing for students that are on like a consumable level. And so those are things that are used up. So the state really does limit on what we can charge for. And all fees are able to be waived if students qualify for free and reduced lunch. So that there's definitely a internal process to make sure that is available. And even if they want to participate in athletics or rent an instrument is also on the list. You know, if they have the basic fees waived, they can also have those fees waived because we want to be sure not to limit participation in sports or other activities, because that's very important that we make that an easy outlet to access for all of our students. So, you know, I'm the only recommendation, if you're talking to the music teachers over the years, we have not, I think it's been unknown the last time what we had increased the instrument rental fee. So, you know, to flush a trombone, for example, would cost around $80–90. We do have that could be a little bit of an outdated and low rate too, but you know, some of these are rates to kind of just maintain our instruments and stuff. Some of it we do in house and some of it we have to do here and there. So that covers that cost.
The flush a trombone is $90. It's all, you know, amazing.
It's maintenance on it, so. So really, and many students will rent their own instruments. So that's, you know, what a majority of your smaller like flutes, clarinets, those type. But, you know, again, similar to, you know, flying owl, students have access to these activities. If they, you know, are not able to pay a rental fee, it is waived. So we want to make sure that everyone's able to participate.
Christopher, move to approve.
All right.
I'll second.
I just have one question. So how do we take the burden off the teachers that end up just paying for stuff out of their pocket? Like it happens, and it's happened so many times.
All the time.
I just, like, I commend them for that, but at the same time, we have to have responsibility of the parents that are gonna be, you know, asking the consumables to be used. So how do we communicate that more effectively, or, you know, because nobody wants to raise the prices, I get that. But how do we articulate that we need to have buy-in on all sides of it every single day of school? You know, like it is no increase, obviously. I mean, it's a question. I don't have an answer, but I know that the teachers are paying for stuff out of their own pocket.
I know they are for a fact too.
So
I mean, absolutely.
Should have a slush fund for that, right?
Well, you know, the revenues are part of all of our district revenues, and then that gets split out into our regular budget. So the teachers are provided, you know, supply budgets, and you know, they have access to easily purchase on Amazon and e-commerce now through our new financial system, and they're going to like you know, they can check out a credit card from their building and go and purchase those things. And that doesn't always cover all of the needs. That's the truth of the matter. I think sometimes there is a level of what they desire to have and what's necessary, and then what they want to expand it to be. So that's part of the puzzle as well. I know when I was a teacher, I spent a lot of money out of my own pocket. The same, you know, that's just, I don't know.
I got a question. What are the top 10 schools in the state doing? What do they charge?
Oh, that's a good question.
For their fees and
For
stuff.
their
So
K4, 4K, and
Very-
elementary school and middle school fees. I mean, Mr. Superintendent, that's where are we trying to go with it? I mean, I would like to, I mean, that's a fair question.
It seems like that the more you have, the more you desire. You know, so I would say that we've located our family in some of the top performing schools before, wanting to have that, and it seemed like we just kept spending more. The more we were moving our kids where we thought they'd get the best education. So it's just like everybody wants to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a difficult one to put in there. Obviously, we don't want teachers to incur costs that they shouldn't have to incur. You know, and I think Angela's putting a little clarification there in terms of how, but I mean, we've always had our teachers, even with our kids, providing more, but also as parents. And I know my grandkids right now, in terms of what they're spending for sports and other things in other states, is incredibly high. Incredibly high.
It's not always something they can plan for either. I know, I apologize. My daughter she went on the trip down to Gurney with the Washington choir and Wilson choir, where they competed. And then they spent the day at Great America, things like that. And she had told me that the teacher ended up having to pay for some of the kids' meals because they didn't have enough money. And you know, that's why I sent her with much as I can afford, you know, so those are the things that come up on a spur of the moment, you know what I mean? Or teachers baking things or bringing treats just for extra incentives in class. I wish we had some sort of a fund that was easier, more accessible for them to draw out of without having to, you know what I mean? Is there a way yes, I don't know either.
Yeah, so my last point to this, I'm just saying, you know, it's 2022, 2023, then 2024, we're keeping it the same. So it's $5 and then we're gonna go $5 for that for 4K. I'm saying, hey, we gotta keep up with inflation. I mean, nobody wants to vote yes on increasing the student fees, but I'm scared enough to talk about it. So that's why I'm saying, well, we gotta do it. We're
It's
gonna have to do
relatively
something.
inexpensive.
I understand. But I'm saying that this is how you get accountability to everybody.
Sure.
Just so that, and it could be a suicide mission by me, but I don't really, frankly.
I understand where
I
you're
just
going.
saying the conversation has to be had.
Yeah.
So.
And the other piece of it too, that's we can, you know, always look for more comparables. The last year when I looked at a little more in depth at comparables, we were very comparable to like what Appleton, Green Bay, what those districts were charging. Setting fees for this is a little bit different because we have to be able to tie out our costs to the fees. So it's hard to estimate many times. We have consumables like their Bridges booklets, so you can put a price on that. SFA will have some consumables, but the number of pieces of paper they will encounter is a little harder to estimate. So it's a little trickier to quantify in some respects. So we have to be able to do that as closely as we can to justify what we charge.
Just, I don't want SFA to roll out and then the teachers have to pay more.
No.
To get
No.
SFA.
Right.
That's-
No.
You know, and I thank you for answering quickly, because I just, you know, we don't need to extend more burdens or challenges, you know, so I'm not trying to create a problem, I'm just trying to be proactive and understand that things are changing. So.
Right.
I wish it was easier.
The other thing I would just like to, you know, to add that we talk about often is that, both in terms of the cost of doing business, making sure that teachers aren't having to pay that out of their, but we're also recognizing sometimes we're spending money, where maybe we shouldn't spend it. We've spent a lot of money on staff apparel, on food, and really what we're doing is we're pulling that back to make sure that that money, remember, only 52% of our public voted for this referendum. And I think, you know, that there is that accountability measure across the board where, you know, to, you know, people who can't provide at home are knowing that we're really leveraging and getting a great return and not spending money because it's,
you're right.
You know, somebody else's money is easier to spend. So,
Thank you for clarifying.
so, you know, we are working to make sure that the resources that we need to get the job done are where they need to be. And, you know, and if I want to buy a shirt because I do want a logo shirt, I'm going to buy it myself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. We already have a motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Yep.
All those in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Student fees are approved. We're gonna go into other business and then maybe some remarks from the board president. You have anything to say, Steve?
Just that, you know, still, if anyone wanted to go to that conference that's coming up in July, just to know about it. I know there's a lot of information that's coming out on it from the state. So just to be thinking about that. And, oh, I know one of the other things, it was brought to my attention about if we're gonna follow policies that we need to follow all policies that we have. And one of the things is about public input. When it specifically says that there will be no personal attacks. And, you know, and also the time rule. Yeah, I've been pretty lax about doing that just because I feel like it's people's time to talk. But I will go ahead and rein that in to keep it close to, or keep it to what our policy says. So
If we have to put it on the agenda for a future meeting or whatever, I would like to do that as well too, to address it. I understand it's not on the agenda, but that is one thing that I'll never support, is cutting anybody short. we have plenty of time, and we never have like 60 people that want to speak. So if somebody wants to sit there and rant and rave for 10 minutes, I personally don't have a problem with that. And one of the things that bothered me most when I wasn't on the board was trying to come up and speak to these people on the board when I was nervous in the first place. And then I had people showing me 1 minute, 30 seconds. That drives me nuts. You know, I say let them speak. That's just my own personal opinion.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to add, I mean, it may require a bylaw change because our
Correct. That's why
bylaw
I
specifically
wanted to-
says it, so if you.
I think I'd be in favor of leaving it to the discretion of the chair. I mean, some people just, you know, want to blab and are making the same point over and over and over again. You could say, well, okay.
And some people are nervous too, and they don't.
Well,
speak
sure
as
they
well
are,
as
sure
others.
they are, but I'm
They
all
don't
in favor
feel
of free
that they're
speech.
comfortable
Free
with saying whatever they
speech,
want.
and I want to encourage people to do that, but yeah, I think your point is a good one, but I think Stacy's probably been handling it pretty well.
I think you have. I personally don't have any problem with how you've been doing it.
What I won't be for though is having a phone number you have to call and then talk on your phone to get public input.
Oh, yeah, not.
No restrictions on public input. So if we need to make a change, I would be all for it. Put it on the agenda for next meeting.
Yes, we did.
So that we can make sure that, you know, people are. heard.
Maybe we can, if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to put it on the agenda to just get a consensus about what we'd like to do
Sure.
moving forward.
Go over this weasel words when we put it in there.
Yeah.
Provide for sale and flexibility.
I'd be in favor of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Future meeting dates? We got any?
Oh, no. We already did that.
Well, Lori, we have one coming up in the beginning of the month here. Yes, no?
There's no July 11th meeting. The next
Yep.
scheduled board
This is-
meeting is July 25th at 6 p.m. And will include public input, which was.
Yes. Correct. Oh, yes,
The
because of the
last
holiday. Gotcha. Okay. And I guess now we are going to,
Well, the only other one I would say is the, Laura, you just sent it out about, the foundation. Foundation.
That's not a whole board meeting though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna vote to convene in, closed session.
Yeah.
For the, see, where's the,
It's on your sheet.
all right, yeah, that's what I got. Considering the following matter, conducting a hearing on recommendation of school administration. Oh, wait, that's a different one, sorry. I'm in the wrong one here. Let me read yours, sorry.
I got it.
Yeah, considering the employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The meeting is authorized pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub c of the Wisconsin statutes. We're going to be discussing the superintendent contract. The board will vote to convene from. Do we need to go that?
No.
We may or may not.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. This is a roll call vote.
Yeah.
We need a first and second.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Motion by Matthew.
Second.
Second by Stacy. Go ahead.
I will be voting no not to go in closed session.
Okay.
And I can still be in the closed session even if you vote no.
I'll give you the opportunity to vote. Yeah.
Yeah, just so, I just don't think it's appropriate at this time.
I understand. Is this a roll call vote?
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead.
Christopher Abel,
No.
Vic Hansen.
No.
Matthew Phipps,
Yes.
Stacy Selner,
Yes.
Matthew Spalding,
Yes.
Carrie Trask,
Oh, no.
Tony Lestelica.
Yes.
Okay, we're 4-3, so we're gonna convene into closed session. We're now in closed. You guys mind if we take a little bit of a recess?
Oh, I probably was trying to
Clear
share
up.
a document.
open session at 8:41. Okay, is there a?
I make a motion to extend Jim Files' contract to August 1st, 20.
No, it would go
No,
till
it'd be
June 30th.
Yeah, 25.
June 30th, 2025. Is that correct?
Is that the 2 years?
I believe 2 years.
Yes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Spalding beat you.
Okay.
Okay, any discussion?
I would just like to say publicly that I would be remiss to vote on a contract I have not seen. So I will be simply voting no until I get to see one. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion?
I will be voting yes because of the administrative contracts being in line with precedent instead of school board law or board policy because of the other administrators in a vote of confidence for the future.
And I would say that, one of the things that I think these extensions with all administration, I think are a bad way to run business. I don't know how education's got away with this, and I understand the whole thing about being competitive. But my vote in favor tonight is about giving you a chance to finish what you started, and holding you accountable to our strategic plan and moving forward and making that happen. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to, I'm gonna vote yes, just to hold Jim to it. I mean, and honest, Jim, if this doesn't work out, if this success for all isn't smoothly implemented and begin to work, honestly, I'm gonna make it as big an election issue as possible, because I just really think that, we should, I wanted to see some of the action happen before we renewed the contract, but the majority of the board doesn't agree with that. So I'll vote yes for the contract.
Well, let's take
take it personally if it doesn't work out.
Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No.
Okay, so we have two no's. Okay, there is no further agenda item, so we can now look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah, do that.
Is that Tony that second?
Yes,
Yeah.
Tony second.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Jim, you have to put up a